Continuing our series on bars, today we're going to be featuring the New Orleans bar Cure. Somebody asked me recently that when they go to Tales of the Cocktail, what bars in New Orleans should they visit? And of course, there is a long list of both classic and modern bars. The one that just came to the top of my brain was Cure. Cure was opened in 2009 by bartender Neil Bodenheimer and a contractor named Matthew Conk. Their lead bartender was also Kirk Estepinal, which we've talked about a bunch on this channel. He made a book called Beta Cocktails that we have done some really great cocktails out of. And then a year after they opened, Kirk Estepinal, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Hi, this is Kirk Estepinal.
Became a partner. The idea behind this video really was about I wanted to do New Orleans cocktails, and then I was gonna do classic New Orleans cocktails, but then I realized that we've done all of the classic New Orleans cocktails, maybe not in one video, but over time, we've done them all. And then I was thinking about, the cocktail renaissance and how that kind of played out in New Orleans a little bit differently than it did in New York and LA. It is a cocktail mecca nowadays, as it kind of always has been, but there's some really great stuff coming out of New Orleans, and I think Cure is really at the very top of the list. It's at the top of my brain anyway. So today we're gonna be bringing you 3 cocktails. So I took some recipes out of their book, which just came out pretty recently. I wanted to make sure that we weren't doing just Cure versions of classics, but we're actually doing just straight up original cocktails from the bar. Let's get into it. Little Boots was created by bartender Ryan Gannon. It's supposed to be a tropical style or tiki drink that doesn't just hit you over the head with all of the tropical flavors, but just something that's light and refreshing, easy to drink. And what I found very interesting about this drink is that he wanted to utilize a falernum style flavor, but falernum is really hard to find. So what he did was he took some Orgeat and took some Tiki Bitters and blended them together to make a down and dirty, easy, rough kind of falernum style flavor in the drink. So I'm really interested to taste this. This is gonna be a first time mix, haven't done it yet, so let's do it. Here, I'm gonna save the lime juice from earlier. And let's go clean this. Back from the basement. 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 1/2 ounce Orgeat, 1/2 teaspoon of our Bitterman's Tiki Bitters, 1 ounce of Amaro Montenegro. Gonna crack open this Diplomatico Blanco, which is the rum that the recipe calls for, but if you have another Diplomatico, the darker Diplomatico will work. I don't think I've had this one before. It's quite good. A little funky, kind of bitter on the finish. And it's got some banana, kind of stewed peaches and banana vibe. That's nice. All right, so we're gonna do 1 ounce of our Diplomatico Blanco, Scotia Pebble, give this the whip shaker. And to finish this drink off, we're just gonna do a few dashes of Angostura Bitters, maybe 7 or something. And then we're gonna cap it off with a snow cone. And then we're gonna do a lemon twist here. Just spritz it on the top like that. I think I'm just gonna sneak it in right here, just on top. About to sip it, about to sip it. Can I sip it? Let's sip it. Ooh, that's super full flavored. It's very juicy. You get that lemon and the Orgeat kind of blend, gives it a nuttiness and then, really smooths it out. But then the bitters gives it this kind of bitter finish, but it's not crazy bitter, if that makes sense. So it's it feels very tropical and juicy and refreshing, but not overly so. I get those notes of the rum playing in there too. I think a little bit of that bitterness is coming from the Blanco. The Amaro Montenegro is giving it some herbal complexity. Almost hits you like tea. It's so good, deceptively so. I'm gonna keep drinking this. There it is, guys, the Little Boots. The Ante Up is a nightcap cocktail if I ever saw one. Unfortunately, it has a lot of proprietary ingredients. So if you guys are gonna recreate this at home with any accuracy, you're gonna have to go out and get all the different spirits. The Creme de Menthe you could probably switch out, and the Laird's Bonded Applejack you could probably switch out if you find another 100 proof Applejack. But the Amaro Sibilla and the Jägermeister are definitely gonna be something that are proprietary, and then also the Hellfire bitters. Although I guess if you can find habanero bitters or make habanero bitters, you could equate it pretty well, just FYI. Typically I like to do drinks on here that you don't need such proprietary ingredients for, but sometimes it's unavoidable. And a lot of times brands are how bars really put their stamp on certain cocktails. When you're dealing with Amaros, they are interchangeable to an extent. As we showed in another video, but they are proprietary blends of botanical ingredients. So if you want to do this the way it's supposed to be done, you're going to have to find that particular Amaro. I don't know if I remembered to have ever, the last time I tried this stuff, just on its own. Ooh, definite coffee vibes. There's some bitter on the finish. I would have put this as a medium Amaro because it does have a pronounced bitterness on the finish, but it has got enough sugar that it's sort of sweet going in, and it's not super rough to get through it. It has enough sweetness that will appeal to most people, but it is definitely kind of got a long bitter finish. Let's get into making the actual drink, shall we? First thing we're gonna do is bitters here. We're gonna do 10 drops of this Hellfire Bitters. Half an ounce of Creme de Menthe. Half an ounce of the Amaro Sibilla. 3/4 Jägermeister. 1 bonded Applejack. 5 drops of 20% saline. A bit of shake. This drink is giving me kind of like Stinger vibes. And I forgot to mention that it was created by Nicholas Jarrett. Give it a little slappy poo and then just float it on top. There it is. Ooh, it does give you the Stinger vibes. It's a bit bitter on the finish. It's got that mint, kind of like an after 8 chocolate. I can't tell if the lightness of the Lairds is just, you know, like the Lairds is being run over, or if it's giving it a little bit of body and some proof. The Lairds definitely loses to the Amari and the Creme de Menthe. I would actually be interested to maybe pull out like a bourbon or something, mix this up one more time and see how it changes. Right as you sip, you can kind of get a little bit of the appliness of the Applejack. It's a nicely balanced cocktail, if a little bit minty, but all of the other flavors are completely prevalent in it, and it is definitely something that closes out the night. So there it is, the Ante Up. So the Cruel Summer was created by bartender Christina Rando, and I'm not gonna say that it was named for the Taylor Swift song, but I'm not gonna say that it wasn't. I actually don't think it was, but it might as well be. In our tin, we're gonna juice a lime, not a lime. We're gonna juice a lemon because lemons are yellow and limes are green. Although some may argue that they are very closely related. They are closely related, that's a fact, but some may argue that you can't taste the difference between the two.
And there are many on here that call limes lemons as well.
That's true. There are many cultures that only have like one word for the fruit. Like limes and lemons is like the same word basically. And a lot of people argue that it is basically the same fruit. Limes are descended from lemons though. All right, so we're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, and then we're gonna crack an egg into it as well. Just the egg white though, not the whole thing. Pray for a good break because this is my only one. Now, a lot of you guys ask me what I do with the egg yolk. Do I just waste it? And the answer is no. I make a Prairie oyster, so I might as well teach you guys how to do that. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take our yolk, we're gonna put it in a glass. I'm gonna take some sriracha here. We're just gonna give it a nice squirt in there, like that. Little pinch of finishing salt, and then we're gonna do a little bit of pepper. Not a lot, just a tiny bit. We're gonna pick out a bourbon that we like. We're gonna add in 1/2 ounce. And there you have your Prairie oyster. All right, now we're gonna take our shot, and we're gonna get on with our cocktail. In our tin here, we've got lemon juice, egg white, and we're just gonna give this a dry shake by itself. 1/2 ounce of black pepper syrup. Take a 1-to-1 simple syrup. You do like a cup and a cup. Take about 32 grams of freshly ground pepper. Simmer it for 5 minutes, and you've got your ground pepper syrup. Then let it sit for a little bit. Let it steep, maybe 15 minutes. Double strain it, and then just strain it as many times until you get every single little bit of pepper out. You don't want anything floating in there, and you have your pepper syrup. I made just like a very tiny batch for this, and we're just gonna do 1/2 ounce of that black pepper syrup, 1/2 ounce of Creme de Menthe from Tempest Fugit, and if you want to use the Giffard, you can. All the Tempest Fugit is pretty fantastic. 1/2 ounce of Ford's gin. It's just what the recipe calls for. It's pretty good, straightforward gin though, I like it. And then we're using the Hayman's Old Tom gin. And we're doing 1 ounce of the Hayman's Old Tom gin. Now we're gonna give it the wet shake. And give it a strain. And garnish with just a little twinkle of black pepper. Oh, wow. First of all, it's nice and spicy right on the finish, but it's not what I was gonna say. What I was gonna say is, first of all, who knew that black pepper syrup was so gosh darn good? And who knew that black pepper and banana went together so damn well? Of course, you get that gin in there. It's nice and light and refreshing. It's got a real bitey on the back palate. It's got a lot of that pepper spice. You get the lemon, of course, honestly, yeah, bringing in the tartness and doing what, you know, what acids do in cocktails, but it's really all about that banana and black pepper combination. It is just fantastic. And then along with the botanicals of the gin, it really makes it very complex, but it's also nice and bright and kind of light. It is fantastic. I love it. This cocktail is my obsession. There it is, the Cruel Summer. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I would highly recommend picking up the Cure book, though. These are just 3 fantastic recipes from the book, but there are over 150 recipes in here. And then another thing that I really love about this book is that it really looks at the city of New Orleans through the lens of not only the nightlife of New Orleans, but also just the unique lens of the people who run Cure. I think it's a really fantastic book, and it's just really eye-opening about New Orleans if you're interested in that kind of thing. And if you're going to Tales of the Cocktail this year, here's definitely a bar that you're gonna want to go and visit and drink their drinks and tell them I sent you. And I'll talk to you guys on another time. Today's episode is sponsored by ourselves. One of the most important things about cocktails is their presentation. And your garnish game can really make or break that presentation. So Marius and I decided that we wanted to start making some dehydrated fruit. Not only are they beautiful to look at, they're pretty long lasting, and they're functional garnishes. All of our citrus are sourced locally, and this is a really good way to help the channel. The garnishes are made in small batches. They're essentially made to order. So head to the shop and no coupon code needed because they're amazingly priced and it helps the channel.